data releases and news. So the difference between the data and the news is that a data, we know when they come out, okay? So we've got calendars. I've showed you the Forex calendar in the first section. So we've got calendars, we know when data is coming out, and the data coming out is, for example, the GDP numbers, unemployment claims. We've got the manufacturing PMIs, FOMC. So we've got many datas, and we know the exact hour and day the data will come out, so we can prepare ourselves for that data. Then news is basically when something happens, and the news comes out, and market reacts to that news. So specifically at the moment, there's a lot of news about tariffs in China, the trade war, and Trump basically waking up in the morning and tweeting something. So that's not great for us because we can't predict when Trump will wake up and tweet something, okay? So these are news. And so what you need to know about news is what currency they affect. So if there's news about the United States, obviously will affect the US dollar. If you see, for example, it was last year, I think, there was a earthquake in Mexico. I saw earthquake in Mexico. First thing I looked is the Mexican pesos, so MXP, I think, is crashed totally, because that means the economy of Mexico will be slowed down because of this earthquake. Okay, so that's the news we can't predict. Same for terrorist attacks. Okay, when there was this big terrorist attacks in last November, or 2 years maybe, in Paris, it had a huge impact on the euro because investors go away from France, so they are selling their euros because they think France is it's not a safe country anymore because of a terrorist threat. Okay, same for the 9/11. That crashed totally the US dollar, okay? So these are news. And what you need to know with news is that certain currencies are treated by investors as safe investments, okay? So these safe investments are the Japanese yen, the Swiss franc, and gold, okay? So when things aren't going well, people tend to invest in the Japanese yen, the Swiss franc. The Swiss franc a bit less now because of the 2015 crash after they have unpegged at 1.2 against the euro. But yeah, the Japanese yen, gold, and Swiss franc still are safe investments when things aren't going so well. So what you'll see is, for example, when there was all these nuclear threats between North Korea and the US, which are news, they're not data, so they're news. What we saw is a rise in the prices of the Japanese yen and gold, okay? Because people are afraid, and so they don't want to put their money in dollars because they think, oh, well, what if there's a nuclear war that involves the US? The US will be damaged. So they invest in the Japanese yen, okay? And gold. And so yeah, really important to know this. Even when Second World War, when there was a nuclear weapon that's been dropped in Japan, the Japanese yen actually rose, okay? Actually rose because it's a safe currency, even though the nuclear bomb actually fell in Japan. So yeah, so really good to know about news. Like if you know things aren't going so well, it's probably not the best idea to short the yen, especially if you're keeping shorting the yen or shorting gold or Swiss franc during a weekend, okay? That's a little bit dangerous because if there's ever a problem in the world, a news coming out during the weekend, and you can't, because the markets are closed, you can't move or you can't trade. So if you're shorting these safe investments, you could get fucked on Monday tremendously because people would have been buying during the weekend and prices would open much higher. Okay, so yeah, but let's look at data, okay, because that's what we can predict. So on the Forex calendar, if you go on more Forex calendar, you've got the calendar for the day. So that's what's happening today. Okay, we're Friday the 13th, and these are the news, and that's the hottest news at the moment. Okay, there hasn't been much happening today, but yeah. So calendar, just make sure as well that's on the right time because I know mine is usually not. So make sure that's the right time for where you live. So yeah, so here you can filter, okay? You've got that little filter icon. So we want to see the high impact, medium impact, and the non-economic, I just find them interesting just to see what is it. It's usually holidays or something. So yeah, because these are low impact, so we don't really care. It just makes it simpler. So yeah, so these are all the data coming out this week. So we're Friday, so everything has passed. So we can predict basically all the GDP, CPI. You can see like everything that's got numbers. Okay, trade balance, core PPI. Okay, all of them. So there are datas, and you can see there's a forecast and the actual. So how that works is that before the news comes out, you've got a forecast. So for example, the PPI of the US here was 0.2. That was a forecast. So the forecast is because economists have studied that data, and they think the data will come out at 0.2. So people know that, so people will put their money accordingly to this. Okay. So when the data comes out, if it's 0.2, even if you can see the previous was 0.3 here. So if they are predicting 0.2, that means it should be not as good as last month. However, because they predicted that, it's already taken into account in the price of the currency. So when it comes out and it's 0.2, the markets won't move that much because it was as predicted. Okay. However, here we can see it's green. So it was predicted 0.2 and it comes out at 0.3. So the US dollar probably went up a bit because of this, because it was higher as predicted. So people that shorted, for example, the US dollar, seeing this, oh, they're predicting 0.2, see it comes out and it's actually 0.3, they'll think, oh, they adjust their positions and buy. Okay. So basically, when you see a red number, the currency should go down, and green, so red it goes down, and green should go up. Okay, and so that's all about the forecast. So when you click here, you've got all the information. So what it measures, why it's important for traders, all of that, and you've got all the articles about it here, and you can see all the forecast. So yeah. So these we know, and basically we can see the numbers, okay? So like here, they were predicting 1% in manufacturing production in Great Britain, and it came out at 0.4. So the bigger the difference, well, the bigger the move it will make, okay? So that probably crashed the pound for a short amount of time. So yeah. However, the news we can't really predict when someone is talking. So you need to know that each currency has a central bank. So in Europe, it's the ECB, okay, which is the European Central Bank. In England, it's the Bank of England. In Japan, it's Bank of Japan. Okay. In the US, it's the Federal Reserve. So yeah, so no, and basically they've all got a president, and when he speaks, it really moves the market because everything he says is listened by traders, and traders will literally buy and sell depending on which words the president will use. It's like literally that precise. So we can't really compete, okay, when there's they speak. So when you see, basically, let's say you've found a trade opportunity on Monday, okay, you've seen it at 12 o'clock and you think, okay, I want to buy this. However, you see during the afternoon, you've got President Mario Draghi, who's the president of the ECB, speaking. Okay, so you can see if there's articles about it or so. He's speaking. Well, we will probably not trade. Okay, we will not trade because it's too uncertain what will happen. Okay. However, if we looking to buy the pound or something at 8 in the morning and we see 10:30 there's news, we could still buy the pound. However, we'll manage our trades at 10:30. Okay, that will be all in trade management in the next section. Okay, so really important to basically get a feel and understand this all these datas. And so this is a little most volatile news report. Okay, so NFP. This is the non-farm policy. It happens once every month. So there was one last week. Yep. So you see non-farm employment change. So the non-farm, so it's called NFP, non-farm policy. It's basically the employment change without taking the farming industry, because the farming industry totally changes the number of employments, because if it's harvest season or something, there will be more employment, and if not, no. So it doesn't take into account this. So it's really important data in the US, and it's the most volatile one. So when NFP is coming out, it's always on a Friday. I think it's the first Friday of every month. It's really important data to know, and don't have like trades open on the US dollar at that moment, or manage them. Okay, so this, and so yeah, but we can sort of predict, like we know what will happen with these. Okay, so that's how we will use data releases with our analysis. It's basically, we don't want to open the trade on, let's say, okay, dollar CAD. We spot sort of a trend line here, let's say, okay, trend line 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the fifth touch. Let's imagine I wanted to buy plus the SMA, everything. So I want to buy dollar CAD. However, I check. So obviously we're not at that date, but let's say it's 2 o'clock and I see employment change in 30 minutes. Well, I would probably not trade it because it's too uncertain. It will totally depend on the news. However, if it's 10 in the morning and the news comes out at 2:30, I can trade it because it can go in my way a bit. And when the news comes out, I can put my stop loss at break even. So I won't lose anything if data is bad. So yeah, and however, if there was the Bank of Canada, the president speaking, I wouldn't trade that because I totally don't know what the outcome will be. Okay, so yeah, so that's how we will use it, and I will show you an app that I use also for data coming out. That's really useful to actually sort of predict, like an economist, what will be the data. So the app is called FX Calendar on iPhone. I don't know if it's available for Android. Maybe, I don't know, you'd have to check in my own market. So it's a Forex calendar. And so basically you can see all the economic calendars, just like Forex Factory. Basically what's interesting is the details. So you see these charts. And so that's the construction index of Australia. So it's not an important news at all. I don't know why they've put that. But let's say you're looking at unemployment or something. Well, you can see actually a graph of what's been happening lately. So you see all the data. So let's So let's imagine that unemployment has been going up like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What will happen next? It's just like simple. A kid could guess. It might go up. Okay. And but usually the forecast will be the actual same as you predict on this. But yeah, it's always good to have the app. I always look and think like here, if there was news, I'd probably say it goes down. Okay, it did this will probably go back down. Construction index. So yeah, so I hope you understand this whole idea of data news. Video was a bit long, but yeah.